Hello, my name's Julie Williams. I'm a registered migration agent with Migration Downunder, and I'm here to talk about New Zealand citizens and New Zealanders who are overseas and wish to return back to New Zealand with their partner who's neither a New Zealand permanent resident or citizen, or they have desires to come to Australia as a New Zealand citizen. So firstly, New Zealand citizens, yes, they do have the right to live and enter Australia and work in Australia without the requirement of having a visa. However, due to our current international border closures, it does mean that New Zealand citizens that have never resided here in Australia, or who do not usually reside in Australia and don't have any evidence to support that their usual place of residence is Australia, then unfortunately you are not exempt to be able to enter Australia at the moment. And you can't sponsor or bring your partners to enter Australia either. If you are a New Zealand citizen that perhaps after the pandemic is seeking to come to Australia when our borders do open, and you wish to bring your partner who's not a New Zealand citizen, they will need to apply for a temporary 461 visa. But be aware that visa is a temporary visa, it's a 5-year visa, and the government are not currently giving it any priority. And it is taking between 2 to 3 years, sometimes longer, for that visa to be granted. So it's certainly not a quick fix solution of being able to enter Australia with your partner. Also, going to New Zealand has very similar restrictions as far as their border entries are concerned for non-residents and temporary residents. The partners of New Zealand citizens can certainly apply for a travel exemption and apply for a visa to enter New Zealand because naturally New Zealand citizens are permitted to return back to their homeland. But if you're considering to enter New Zealand as a pathway of then entering Australia, then be aware it's not that easy. New Zealand citizens, yes, are permitted to, within our travel bubble, to enter Australia if they have been residing and living in New Zealand. However, that as of January, at the current date, the 28th of January, New Zealand citizens are not able to enter Australia because of the recent outbreak of new cases in the community. I'm sure that border will reopen again once they've got that contained, but that is also currently closed at the moment. But otherwise, the New Zealand citizen, once, if living in New Zealand, can enter Australia, but if you wish to bring your partner, your wife, your husband, your spouse, your de facto, who has lived with you for many years overseas and now has returned to New Zealand with you, if they are a New Zealand citizen, if they're not a New Zealand citizen, then they cannot enter Australia without a visa. So you will still have to apply to gain a visa and a travel exemption to enter Australia. And the travel exemptions for partner visas of New Zealand citizens are not there like they are for Australian citizens returning to Australia. So don't think New Zealand will be a nice quick backdoor entry into Australia at the moment for your partner who's not a New Zealand citizen, because that is not the case. The temporary residents, regardless of where you are entering, are not being provided a travel exemption to enter Australia. So I hope that sort of helps answer some of your questions. I know it probably doesn't give you the answer that you were hoping for, but it might help you have a bit more of an understanding. Otherwise, if you do want further information, you can visit our website. Otherwise, both governments, Immigration New Zealand and the Department of Home Affairs in Australia, have got excellent material on their websites as far as the COVID-19 pandemic is concerned and who has the right to enter and who requires and would be eligible for a travel exemption.